So welcome to the Diversify Your Workforce seminar. I'm Chris from Cape UK in Yorkshire.
And I'm Holly. I'm from Curious Minds in the Northwest.
We're going to be your hosts for the next 50 minutes or so with a seminar that's packed full of information, ideas, tips, questions when it comes to diversifying your workforce. Before we make a start, I just wanted to point out that this session is going out live online, so we've got all sorts of technical stuff going on in the background. That just lets make sure that everybody can see us, they can hear us, and hopefully they can join in live as well.
So just to make sure that everyone feels included and welcome, can I ask everyone in the room here at the stage just to turn round to the camera over there and just give our online audience a big wave. Just say hello. Fantastic, thank you very much.
We can't see them wave back. That's
I know.
a shame.
So the purpose of this seminar is to discuss and think about some of the key points that you might want to consider when diversifying your workforce to include young people, and particularly young people that have additional needs. When we talk about diversity, we're not just talking about race. We are talking about social and economic class, background, physical ability, mental health. So it's a wide range of factors that we're taking into consideration. We're going to start with some scene setting, and that will help us just think a little bit about why it's important to provide young people with work-based learning opportunities, specifically in creative and cultural industries.
We'll be looking to dispel some of the myths around employing disadvantaged and vulnerable young people, and we'll be looking at what some of the potential benefits are to employers. And we've got a toolkit for you to take away which is full of information, resources and tools to give you a head start, so that when you're back in the office next week looking to set up some opportunities, you've got everything you need to do so. We're not pretending to have all the answers, and we want this session to be as equal an opportunity for you to share our learning as it is for us to share our learning together. So the seminar is mostly interactive with lots of opportunity for discussion.
The opportunities that were created through Strong Voices were apprenticeships and work experience. So just to be clear, and we're all talking the same language, when we're talking about apprenticeships, we mean young people that are employed for at least 12 months, they're being paid a wage, and they're also working towards a qualification with a college or a training provider. Work experience is perhaps the most common form of work-based learning, and one that I'm guessing most of you might be familiar with. It's usually a fixed-term opportunity for a young person to work with an organisation alongside an experienced member of staff. And this can be paid or it can be voluntary. Two other terms that we might refer to during the course of the seminar, or that your fellow delegates might refer to, are internships and traineeships. These weren't specifically offered through Strong Voices, however they are referenced in the toolkit if you'd like to consider them for your own organisation.
So for this first section, we're going to try out some technical stuff, and fingers crossed it should work. It worked in rehearsal. So the first section is about setting the scene with some stats around youth unemployment and our creative industries, and to get us thinking about why that's so important at the moment. So we actually want you to use your mobile phones, so if you could take them out, but preferably keep them on silent if you can, that'd be good. We're going to take you through some questions. The questions are going to appear on the projections in a minute. But first of all, just to make sure we know how to answer these questions, because that's what you're able to do, and the people that are joining us online are able to join in with this as well and send in their answers to the questions. I'm just going to take you through how you do that. If you want to tweet in your answers, then you need to tweet to us at strongvoices15. If you want to text in your answers, you need to text them to the number on the screen. If you're going to text them in, you first need to text in Strong Voices 15, all one word as it is on the screen. So I'll just go over that again. If you want to tweet in your answers, tweet us at strongvoices15. If you want to text them in, first of all, text strongvoices15 to the number on the screen. I've been assured it's just the standard network rate. So, how are we getting on? Have we got our phones set up? Is it looking okay? Some nods? I think we're working it out.
If you are stuck, maybe ask your neighbour if they can help you if you're here in the room. Make a friend.
And for the online audience, there's another way you can do it, which is to respond on your browser, your internet browser, at polev.com/strongvoices15. Okay, I think we could probably make a start with our first question.
Fantastic. So, question number 1. According to stats released in October 2014, is youth unemployment higher or lower than unemployment for adults? Okay, so just to give you that question again, according to stats released in October 2014, is youth unemployment higher or lower than unemployment for adults? And I can already see some answers coming through on the screen, so I'm guessing you've all worked out what you need to do to send your answers. But if you think it's higher, text or tweet higher. If you think it's lower, text or tweet lower.
And hopefully our online audience are also sending in their answers as we speak. There's a little bit of a delay with the online, so we're just giving some time for everybody to have a go. Although it's looking reasonably unanimous.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can see that most of you have voted higher.
Okay, and if you did vote higher, then that's correct. So youth unemployment is higher than adult unemployment. So I'm sure we've all heard in the news recently that unemployment figures are going down, but it is still affecting a lot of people, and that's what we need to bear in mind. So it stands to reason that it's getting increasingly harder for young people to get those first jobs, that all-important first foot on the ladder.
So, question number 2. What percentage of young people are unemployed or underemployed? That's what percentage of young people are unemployed or underemployed? If you think it's 30%, text or tweet 30. If you think it's 40%, text or tweet 40. And if you think it's 60%, text or tweet 60. This seems quite active this time.
Getting the hang of it.
Yeah. Still moving.
Okay. So just to kind of look at the answers for that one, majority saying 40%, but a few saying 30 and also a few saying 60 as well.
So, yeah, the majority of you are right. It is about 40% of young people that are unemployed, so not far off half. And since 2005, the number of young people who are unemployed for a year or more has risen or increased by 225%. The number of young people who are unemployed for 2 years or more has risen to 90,000. That's an incredible increase of 330%. So not only are more young people unemployed, but they're actually more likely to be unemployed for a longer period of time.
Okay, so question number 3. Have earnings for 18 to 21-year-olds increased, stayed the same, or decreased since 2010? So if you think they've increased, text or tweet number 1. If you think they've stayed the same, number 2. And if you think they've decreased, 3. And again, just a reminder to those of you online, please do make sure that you're texting and tweeting as well. We want to hear from you guys as much as the people here in the room.
If you're getting confused by seeing some of the bars going down, it's because it's on a percentage basis. It's not that people are removing their answers somehow. Okay. I think we're about stabilised on that. So there's quite a few on stayed the same, but mostly on decreased.
Okay, so if you said that they were on decreased, then that's correct. Earnings have actually decreased by 10% for this particular age group. So just to check in the room, how did we do with that? How many people got that right? Fair few.
Good.
Cool. So what we'd say is that this decrease in earnings is likely to have a more dramatic effect on families that have a low income compared to those that are comparatively better off. We're not saying that all young people who face some kind of disadvantage are from a low-income family, but it's safe to assume that a significant proportion of them will be.
Question number 4. This is our final question. You don't have to do it after this. So, what percentage increase has employment in the UK's creative industries risen by since 2011? What percentage has employment in the UK's creative industries risen by since 2011? Send in, text or tweet in A if you think it's 3.7%, B if you think it's 6.2%, or C if you think it's 10.1%. And bear in mind that during this time, the UK's economy has increased by a total of 2.4%. Oh, sorry, the number of jobs in the UK economy. Right, what's that?
Okay.
Still going.
Okay.
I'm sure no one's checking this out on Google as we speak, are they?
Okay, so looking relatively stable there. A few people have gone for A and B, but majority of people have gone for C, which is 10.1%.
Yeah, so it is over 10%, which is really exciting because being involved with the creative sector is something that many young people would aspire to do. And now with the sector growing so fast, we can say that there are real opportunities out there and that we need to build a skilled and diverse workforce to fill those opportunities. And we're confident that participating in arts and cultural activities is a great way for young people to learn some of the essential skills they'll need.
Okay, so hopefully from that quiz, we have a better understanding of why these opportunities are so important to this particular target group, and also the fact that creative and cultural industries can offer a wide range of opportunities. So it's really important that we now look at what this means in reality and how we can plan accessible opportunities for these particular young people. and diversify your workforce, but also to mitigate against any concerns that you might have had in the past that have stopped you from either offering these opportunities yourself or supporting the development of them.
Okay, so we're going to So in a moment, we're going to ask you to get into some small groups, and each group will be given a case study. The case studies are scenarios of young people in apprenticeships or some sort of work experience opportunity. These case studies are based on some of the young people that we worked with through Strong Voices, but they're not actual real people that are in the case studies. So, each case study introduces a young person, and we have the following prompts to help guide your discussion. So we'd like to invite you now to get into small groups of 5 or 6 with the people sitting next to you and around you. And you can, I think we're handing out case studies. Have we got case studies handing out? Excellent, fantastic. You're going to get post-it notes, and you can write down answers, questions, thoughts on your post-it notes, and then put them onto the flip charts at the side and at the back.
No, not at that.
Not at the back. Sorry. I'll have to just go over that again in a sec.
I can do it.
I'll just tell the online audience. For the online audience, your case study is case study number 5. And I'll come over and work with Paul, and we'll go through that now. Okay.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm not going to have enough hands on this next bit.
You know.
I used to do the 4-point for me, Becky.
To try and grab one.
Because if I need to hold them on each and do that and hold those, I'm not going to have enough hands.
We're doing fine for time, by the way, so
Yeah.
tell them 10 minutes in a minute.
Yeah. So, Chris.
Okay, so whilst the rest of the room are they're in their groups, and we know that you're not in your group, but that doesn't stop you from being able to take part in this exercise. And Chris has just come over. Actually, you can stay there. That's fine. Yeah. Actually, what we could do, we could sit down, and then we get a bit closer together, which is rather nice. And I know you've got a big following in Leeds going on right now, because I know his office in Leeds. They keep tweeting in. Pick up the. Yeah.
Sorry. You can hear me now.
Microphone. Yeah.
Is that coming through?
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah.
Superb.
Yeah. No, it's really good. That's all loud and clear. So, whilst the group. 4 groups in here, they're all doing a case study. We've got a case study just for you at home or the office or the bigger office where there's a cluster of people. So we want you to get involved. Chris, can you just explain how you'd like this to work?
Right.
Online?
So I think we've got about 10 minutes, and basically we've got this case study, which is case study number 5. It's about a young person called Jasmine, and Jasmine is 17 years old. So Jasmine started a community arts apprenticeship in March 2014, and she's about to return from maternity leave. She's agreed to come back full time, and she's really excited to get back into her role. Her new daughter has a place at a local nursery, and Jasmine is keen to learn about all areas of the arts. She's very organised and a popular member of the team. So, Paul,
Okay,
are they able to see our prompts that are on there? Or?
I don't. Actually, we'd have to come off of this shot and go onto the main screen. So why don't you just tell me what the questions are there?
Well, I'll just talk through those.
Yeah, if you just talk through the questions, because you've given the great case study of Jasmine.
Yeah.
So what would you like the guys to do now?
So it's really about what you would do as an employer to support that young person.
Right.
So the prompts that we've got, which you can't see, so I'll just read those out to you now. What would you need to consider if you were this young person's employer?
Okay.
That's the first.
So if you were employing Jasmine, what would you need to consider?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And, Jasmine, anyone who's having a child and has worked and has to go out on maternity leave, there's going to be certain considerations that are going to need to take into account. But also it's really worth just remembering that Jasmine is only 17 years old as well, so
Okay.
she's still a young person.
Are you giving a clue away there, Chris?
Sorry.
That's all right. I mean, I'm sure we get the tweets will come
We'll
down.
win.
It's #StrongVoices15. Do get involved in the Jasmine case study. And what is another prompt you've got
So
there
let's
as
have
well?
another prompt. How might the apprenticeship or work experience, well, it's an apprenticeship in Jasmine's case,
Yeah.
how would that be tailored, or how could it be tailored to their individual needs?
Okay. So how could a placement basically be tailored to Jasmine's needs?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So we're making it about Jasmine,
Yeah.
not just about the job description that she has to fulfill.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I can sneakily see, I think there's a third, or is that a fourth prompt even?
There's a couple more.
We're giving you lots of clues here, aren't we, isn't it? You're very generous, Chris.
Okay. What additional support might you be able to access for yourselves as an employer and support them to access as an individual?
Right, okay.
So that,
So additional support
yeah.
that that an employer might be able to grab.
Well, the employer might be able to grab, or they might be able to signpost Jasmine to certain support that she's
Right.
entitled to,
Oh, okay, yeah.
possibly.
So for both parties, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a final one, don't you? We're
Yes.
really giving you lots of
Lots
good
of tips
prompts
here.
here this afternoon. It's very generous. It's lovely in Gateshead right now, so that's why we're in a generous mood.
Okay, so the fourth prompt is: what challenges might you both face, and how might you overcome them together?
Right. Okay. So challenges that Jasmine might face, challenges that you as the employing organisation might face.
Yeah.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's that partnership between employer and employee, but really thinking about
Yeah.
Jasmine, what situation she's in at the moment, and how can we make the most of
Yeah.
our investment in Jasmine, because she's working for us.
Yeah.
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 So that it's good for both employer and employee.
Right. So this is your case study. The Jasmine case study is purely for your. This is a 5-minute call coming on, but basically this is your case study. Yeah, I think that's coming through loud and clear. But basically, they're asking for people to put notes on post-it notes on their flip charts. We're not going to do that. We're just going to ask for your tweets to come down the wire. So the #StrongVoices15. The Jasmine case study is purely for you. It isn't for anybody else that's in the room. They've all got different case studies. Chris and Holly have been working hard to make this as interactive, but also to really stretch the kind of subject matter itself as well. So let's get really deep into this, which has been a philosophy, I think, behind the whole Strong Voices project over the past 2 years that you've been a key part of.
Yeah, totally. I think so. It is about, it's not about having any set of answers for any particular situation. It's trying to think about the subtle nuances of different situations, and to get us really thinking about how we can put in the right sort of support to make sure that, to be proactive about putting support in place. I think that's really the key, whether we're talking about apprenticeship opportunities, work experience opportunities, or whether we're talking about some of the activities as well.
Yeah.
And we've heard today, I think, possibly this morning, about the social model for that you get in disability and how you can apply that to the arts, and that's very relevant to what we're talking about, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just to reiterate as well that if you weren't able to join us earlier in the day and you've missed any of those sessions, they are available. They've all been recorded, so they will be available on demand. So have a look at the program, which is directly below the player, where you can see us, and you'll see the rest of the program. If you want the wider program, just go to the right-hand side of the screen and just click on the button there. It will take you to a bigger program of what's coming up and what's been, so you don't need to miss out on anything. And actually, the people that have gone to other seminar sessions in a different part of this particular building and weren't streamed, then those sessions have been recorded and they will be available as well. So we've really got got stacks of information coming out. And in the next break, Chris, I'm going to talk to you about the toolkit that you've been working on, because I think that's
Sure.
phenomenal.
Okay.
So I think we're going to give you a rest for a couple of moments. I believe, well, there's still a lot of conversation going on. People are getting up, they're going to the boards, they're putting their post-its on. So those questions that have been raised, there's some kind of, I'm looking around the room and there's some in-depth discussion. You can always tell because people move forward from, being kind of a bit laid back and suddenly really into it, and the groups get even closer, and I can see that going on right now. So tell me, Chris, just whilst that is coming to, before Holly gives us the next signal to stop talking, but why did you guys as CAPE, why did you get involved in the Strong Voices project?
Why wouldn't you get involved with the Strong Voices
Brilliant.
project?
Well, there you go. Why wouldn't you?
This was an opportunity to not just not run some projects, but to really get people thinking about why is it important that we do this. Is it important that all young people get to access arts and culture?
Yeah.
And if it is important, then what sort of arts and culture? And is arts and culture accessible to them at the moment? And whose arts and culture is it? Is it our arts and culture? Is it their arts and culture?
Yeah.
It's a way of getting people thinking about what's, I guess, what our entitlement is. What all of us, what our entitlement is. Arts and culture helps make sense of a very complicated world.
Yeah.
And it can be a really useful tool. It could be a therapeutic tool, and I think it's an important, rich part of life. So the opportunity was there, and we took it basically.
Yeah. Well done you. And I think it's a little bit of Holly's just coming back on stage, so I'm going to stop talking now, and you'll have Holly back now. So actually, we'll give you a little bit of a breather. So we'll leave you to think about some of the issues already raised, and then we'll be back in a few moments' time. Obviously, the stream continues. We have an amazing job being done by our web team and by, I would say that, of course, because it's all gone pretty well so far, so I hope that's not the kiss of death on this. But if you're not able to hear or see us in the right way, it might be that your device might need rebooting. It's all coming out fine at this end. But if you do get cut off, as I say, it won't matter because all the on-demand sessions will be available. So I'm just going to look at Siobhan right now and wonder if we've got some comments coming in. There we go. Right, okay. Here we go. Oh, this is brilliant stuff. So we've got a lot of answers. What we're going to do, actually, is we're going to hold these until Chris is going to input back into the room. But that is brilliant. So thank you so much for sending those down. Keep sending them down because it does really add to the richness of what's going on here. I mean, you're making the whole contribution even better.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Holly she's got a microphone in hand. She's gesturing. There's lots of colour on these flip chart. People really like colours, don't they? It's incredible. Really incredible. So there we are. Keep sending your tweets in. It's hashtag StrongVoices15. And if you're on Facebook or Instagram, use that hashtag as well. And just keep joining in. If you want to join the Facebook groups or know any more about these individual organisations, then they are Curious Minds, Sage, Gateshead, Artswork, A New Direction, and
Cape UK?
Cape UK. Sitting next to you. That's why I forgot it, because I'm sat right next to you. So I think we're there. Becky, are you able to tell us? Are we? Otherwise, we'll just keep talking. But we're getting some results in, so okay. I think we're good. We're good. But do keep sending your information in.
Cool. Okay, thank you very much for that. I hope you had some interesting conversations. We're just going to go through each case study now and just see what your ideas are in terms of how we can help make these opportunities accessible, but also where the learning was with Strong Voices specifically, and any kind of additional things that we can add from our experiences. So case study number 1 is a young man called George. George is 17 and recently been recruited into a creative apprenticeship, and it's his first job straight out of school. So during his interview, he discloses that he's been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and he is incredibly passionate about stage design and is very organised and reliable. So some of the I'm just going to pick out post-it notes in terms of who was discussing this case study and seeing what we can see on here. So one of the key points in the top here is anxiety. So just questioning kind of the role, what his triggers might be, support for him, and also making sure that that is young person focused. And I think that that's really important. That's one of the key questions that I had when I was looking through this, and that we've looked at as a consortium, is kind of asking what the triggers might be. Have they found any support mechanisms, any coping strategies that they're able to share with you? But also for them to understand why it's important that you need to know that information as their employer. Brilliant. So another point here is support outside of the theatre. So just questioning what support services they're accessing already, and questioning whether you need to offer any pastoral support to make sure that they're accessing everything that they can do in order to help them. There's also a note here about having a risk management plan, so making sure there's an action plan. And I would definitely agree with that, because always we need to think about planning and what kind of making sure that all the systems are in place. We've kind of thought through as much as possible so that we're not just reacting to situations that arise. So we've got another comment here. Line manager who is good at giving constructive feedback, helping to process feedback as well. What else? We've got flexible working hours. One of the questions that's raised, that this particular strand of Strong Voices has raised, is whether full-time work is suitable for a young person with mental health needs. And that's something that we always need to bear in mind. So actually, is it realistic for them to be successful in achieving a full-time role? Or does it need to be flexible? Does it need to be part-time? What are the other options out there that would allow them to enter the world of work and to have a successful and positive experience, but also that suits their needs and their circumstances? I think that's the majority. Some lovely points here about communicating and being patient, and identifying a key worker if they have one, and what role they play and how you can work with them, again, to make it a positive experience. So drawing on all the support that's available around that young person and making sure that it's a joined-up approach in partnership. I think that's everything on George. So we'll move on to case study number 2, which is Farheen. So Farheen is 18 years old and recently started an apprenticeship in events management with a community music organisation. After a few weeks on the job, it becomes apparent that Farheen has learning difficulties, which means that she finds complicated tasks difficult and struggles to learn new tasks quickly. She's always very friendly and has great customer service skills. So just to have a look at some of the post-it notes, we've got a big one here that says review induction process. So the question that we would raise, having spoken to colleagues that have delivered Strong Voices across the country, is why was this only picked up a few weeks into the process? So it's really being careful of that induction process. Think about structure mentoring? Is there a buddy role, a buddy system that you could put into place? And keep talking, keep communicating and checking in as to, kind of how it's all going. Fantastic. Brilliant. So I'm just going to come across to the other ones. Bear with me. So here we have case study number 3, which some of you looked at, which is Tom, who is 16 and started college, but then later decided that it wasn't for him, and chose not to continue attending his course. He then went on to do work experience, working with a marketing officer in an arts organisation to promote projects to other young people. It's the only activity he takes part in, and is struggling to get to work on time and hasn't been in an office environment before. So things that we need to think about with him are, can see some really interesting points around office mentor and just making sure that he's got support in the office. Again, I would really highlight what we said in the previous case study around the induction process. Things that might seem really obvious to us about how to behave in an office, language, dress code. If this is your first job, you might not be aware of what you need to do. So it's about spelling those things out, but also making sure that we're modelling appropriate office behaviour as well, if that's the environment they're working in. Exploring his interests, making sure it's productive. He is the expert in social media and engaging with his peers. So making sure that it's engaging. If this is the only thing he does, it needs to be fun and engaging so that he can continue working in it. And the last one from the people in the room, we have Kyle, who is 17 and is a young carer. He's just applied to do some work experience with a local dance company as a workshop assistant and wants to teach professionally. Or dance professionally, who knows. So there's quite a few challenges that have been identified on this one from the delegates in the room. So talking, making sure he's got a mentor, flexible plans, and maybe just having some understanding that although he wants to be reliable, there are situations that arise quite quickly that he might struggle to be reliable with. Making sure that the work experience fits around his studies, tailoring it to his availability, and also, again, providing a mentor, which I think has come through in all of the case studies. So thank you very much for those of you in the room. Chris, I'm just going to hand over to you.
Okay.
So that we can hear from our online audience.
Great. Are we in the room? Oh, here we go. Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, Holly. So, our participants online, there's been lots of feedback on this. The young person is Jasmine. Jasmine is 17 years old, and she started a community arts apprenticeship in March 2014. She's about to return from maternity leave. She's agreed to come back full-time and is really excited to get back into her role. Her new daughter has a place at a local nursery. Jasmine is keen to learn about all areas of the arts, and she is a very organised and popular member of the team. So we asked the online audience, or our online participants, what they thought might be some of the issues or some of the support that's needed. And of course, there's a lot here about flexibility, and a really good point that Jasmine won't be able to work ridiculous hours that have become the norm. I think that's a very good point. So it is very much about having that flexible schedule, and perhaps thinking about the tasks that Jasmine might do as well. You know, can she do some of these tasks from home? Are they the sort of tasks that require her to be in at 9 o'clock every morning, or is there some flexibility? So we've got a lovely point here. This one is, having a young parent in your workplace is a great direct connection to what it's like to be a young parent. Use it. And I think that's fantastic, isn't it? Because it gives the opportunity to the employer to really think about engaging a group of society that might otherwise not have a voice. You know, if you're an arts or cultural organisation and you're not currently working with young parents, then this is a golden opportunity to find out some of the best ways of doing that. And then I think the last one here is to treat all employees as individuals. There's a fine line between meeting needs and making people feel singled out. So yeah, it is, you know, it's about people, it's about having that personal approach, looking at who you're working with, having a discussion, talking it through, and coming to an agreed way forward, basically. So, thank you very much. Online.
Fantastic, thank you very much for that. I'm just going to pause a second while Chris just frantically tries to run across the creaky floor to join me.
Okay, great, excellent, good, you can hear me. Right, so hopefully from the exercise that we've just taken you through, we now feel we're in a strong position to mitigate against certain concerns, and we are more aware of the full range of support that we can put in place to make sure that our investment in a young person really pays off.
Just to say as well, the notes from those case studies will be typed up and shared at a later date with anyone that's interested, both here and in the room, and for those of you watching online as well, they will be made available. So we've all been in the other end of the situation where someone's taken a chance on us and offered us some work experience. So now it's your turn to convince the CEO of your organisation to offer a work-based learning opportunity. And if you are the CEO or the head of your organisation, then think about how you would convince your board members or someone in that kind of similar role. And just to say at this point again, I'm going to stay working with yourselves in the room, and Chris will be working with Paul and the online audience again.
Great.
So for your first pitch, we'd like you to imagine that you've just bumped into your CEO and you want to convince them to take on a young person. So working with your neighbour, we'd just like you to think about what points you would make to them, how you would make that argument. And we'll just give you a couple of minutes to do that, and then we'll feed back again, both in the room and from the online audience. So off you go.
So we thank you for your for all of the work that you've been doing. Thank you for all the work that you've been doing, and obviously feeding into this interactive day that's been devised. So we're asking you to work again now. Well, Chris and Holly are asking you to work again now. So Chris, do you want to explain what you'd like people to do so that they can be involved, and how they communicate that with us? I mean, at the moment we're tweeting everything, #StrongVoices15. So what's this exercise?
Well, hopefully by now in the session, everyone that's involved, the delegates, the online participants, now realises that really we want to create some of these opportunities. So now we need to have a convincing argument for when we bump into our CEO or our boss.
Yeah.
And so it's basically, what would you say to your CEO? You've got 1 minute with them. What would you say to them to convince them to take on a young person?
Okay, so you got that long minute in a big elevator, I guess, or a big lift, and you've just got to do that whole kind of lift statement almost for a minute. So
yeah, I think so.
It goes pretty
yeah.
quickly, a minute, doesn't it?
It does go very quickly. So it's some strong key points.
Right. Okay.
What it does what it does for your organisation, and I guess your CEO is thinking about your organisation's business needs. And if you are the CEO, then what would you say to your board?
Very good, very good. And then what we'll do, what you send those tweets down to us, and then we'll pick them up from Siobhan, that's doing a fantastic job on social media, moderating and telling us what's going on as well. And we'll pick those up from her and feed all of those things into this rich conversation we're having this afternoon. So how long do they have for this, Chris? How long?
Just a couple of minutes.
Just a couple of minutes, right, okay. So, should we talk about something else now then? Or should we just let people have a rest for a moment?
Yeah,
let
them concentrate and see what comes in.
All right, we'll be back in a few minutes.
So just 1 minute left for those. Okay, folks, if I could just ask you to draw your conversation to a close. Sounds like you're all having some great conversations. So this is where I would like to invite, first of all, those of you that are in the room to feedback on some of those key points that you might have just been discussing. And then in a moment, we'll go to the online audience and see what they say as well. So would anyone in the room like to give us a little snapshot of what they were talking about in that exercise? Don't make me pick on you. I'm looking in this direction. There we go. Thank you very much. You've been saved for the moment.
For some who work in large organisations, I think you could almost say there's a moral kind of duty really to give young people work-based learning opportunities. And Darren and I work for a local authority where we do offer lots of work experience. What we try and do is make sure those work experience placements are linked to apprenticeships, and we try and make sure the apprenticeships are linked to trades where we know there are going to be jobs in the future. Because I think one of the worst things you can do with work experience and apprenticeships is kind of raising people's expectations when actually we may well know we don't have a job at the end of it for the young person, and you kind of, they spend a year working really hard, and at the end of it there's nothing left. So I think for large organisations there's kind of a moral obligation.
Fantastic. So it's all about progression, exit strategy, and making sure that there is one. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Thanks.
I'm working at Z Arts in Manchester, so I was actually just saying that it's very much embedded through our CEO already, that kind of engagement with young people and offering them opportunities. But we talked really briefly about making sure that the opportunity is mutually beneficial for both the organisation and the young people. But for us, making that role that young person has really exciting, so that when they look at that position, I was talking about programs such as working with our marketing team, and when we look at it on paper, we actually say ourselves that looks, like a really exciting job, which gives that young person such a breadth of opportunity. So that was an important part of our pitch.
Fantastic, and that's going to lead me nicely onto the next exercise in a moment.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to ask everyone just to remember that point for the moment, and I'm going to go over to Chris to feedback from our online guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Holly. So we've got some good ones coming in here. I like this one in particular. ask the CEO to remember when they themselves were trying to gain experience to break into the industry. I think that's a good one. Excellent. And of course, young people can engage other young people. You know, so it's that thing about a young person coming into your organisation. They're a member of your target audience. So why not make the most of what they know about your target audience? You know, in the social media, they're always far better at things like social media than us. They always know what the latest social media thing is to use. So so some nice responses there. Thanks, Holly.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So, kind of starting to lead on from that, but also leading on from what Paul said, the opposite side to this, and this is one of the key things that we found through Strong Voices, is that sometimes the young people themselves need encouragement to apply for these opportunities and support as well to be able to do that. And that might be due to their personal circumstances and not necessarily feeling that it might be for them. They might think that the arts is mainly for performers and not understand the range of jobs that we have available in finance, marketing, construction, anything else that you can imagine. I think we pretty much cover most of them. So it's about thinking of how we sell these opportunities to young people and get them to understand and also offer them support to apply for them. So same as what you've just done a few minutes ago, if you can work with the person next to you and just think about how you would promote and encourage and support young people to apply for these opportunities, and then we'll feed back again. Okay? Go.
So, Chris, it's becoming the normal thing now. We know that whenever Holly has a question, I'm coming to you to make sure that we get it exactly right for the people that for you at home or in the office, so you can take part as well. So, the task this time is to talk about the young person.
Yeah, it's convincing the young person. You know, it's a scary time trying to look at different jobs to get into. And some, you know, there might be particular things going on in their life that doesn't make them feel confident to apply for a job. So if you're working with particular groups of young people, what can you do to encourage them?
Right.
What would you say to a young person to encourage them?
Okay.
And one of the things to think about sometimes as well, because we're talking about the creative industries here, and it's this growing sector, there's lots of opportunities.
Yeah.
It's the diversity of those opportunities. A lot of people think, you know, when I was a young person, I certainly thought this, that to be in the creative industries or to be in the music industry, I had to be a performer on stage, you know, and that could be scary. But of course, there's all sorts of roles: administration, catering,
absolutely,
finance, backstage. You know, loads of different things.
Oh,
so,
we love the backstage. So, how long for the exercise? On
oh,
this
sorry,
one?
I'm taking up most of it.
No,
I think.
that's fine.
You've got a couple of minutes.
They got a couple of minutes. So just tweet in your responses as you've been doing, which has been fantastic. So hashtag Strong Voices 15 answers to how you convince a young person. Have we got things coming in? Excellent. We're on schedule as well, aren't we?
Okay, just 1 minute left on that, guys. 1 minute. Okay, if I can just ask you to bring that conversation to a close. Sounds like you don't want to stop. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. I'd just, again, like to invite you to feed back on some of those key points. What were the main things that came out for you and your group? I am going to look over this side of the room, just because you've been quiet so far. Would anyone like to offer a key point? Thank you very much.
I think coming from a youth work perspective, I think the first thing you need to do is realise that not every young person is suitable for an apprenticeship, and not every apprenticeship is suitable for a whole group of young people. So it's about building those relationships with individual young people first of all, and then recognising what learning they want to achieve and where they want to go, and trying to find a suitable apprenticeship to match that. For example, I've got a young person that I work with at the moment that really wants to be a youth worker, but there aren't any youth work apprenticeships about. So what can we do that she can still get beneficial skills out of, and to get on that path that's not necessarily a specific youth work apprenticeship. So
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I'd say that that's one of the key things that we've learnt through doing this work with Strong Voices, is making sure that we're working with people like yourselves to get those experiences for young people in what they need it to be. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Anyone else in the room? Thanks. It's okay.
Hi, I'm working in a mental health organisation where we work with young people, and we've been trying to actually match them and place young people in apprenticeships. One of the major problems that we've found is the age group. So this isn't actually really an answer to the question, but I think it's very important that we try and campaign and work for apprenticeships to be slightly broader, for example, in age range, and more flexible in terms of how many hours per week, something that was alluded to in the case studies, because a lot of young people aren't ready to do an apprenticeship at 17. We work with young people up to 25. They might work with us for 2 years or a year and then be ready. And we want to create those pathways, and we want to create pathways into organisations that have been working with us. So, for example, delivering a project with us, and then we can get a young person to go and work in that organisation. That, for us, is the perfect scenario. It works really well, but we find the constraints currently around apprenticeships, for example, specifically, almost impossible to work with. It's a very narrow understanding, not from the cultural sector, but from the people that fund apprenticeships, as to who an apprenticeship should be for. Mm-hmm. I think that needs broadening. When we've had work placements, which have been more flexible, they've been incredibly successful, and we haven't seen those young people again, apart from heard remote reports from the cultural organisation, because the young person's disengaged from our service, and that for us is 100% success. We don't want to see young people coming back to us afterwards. They've gone on, he's gone on, one particular young man got on, got career, work, fantastic. He doesn't need us anymore, and that's what we need apprenticeships to do as well.
Fantastic. So really, we should be working with people like yourselves in terms of mental health charities, those kind of wider support services, to make sure that apprenticeships are accessible. So do you want to...
Picking up on this point, I think that's so valid. I think that apprenticeships are very restricted, and I don't. Yes, it's working with organization, but really, isn't it about lobbying the government to think more creatively about apprenticeship programs, because they're very narrow and they are not fit for purpose, really, and there's so much lip service about apprenticeships, but they're very, very narrow, and they don't cater. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes a full apprenticeship is too much for someone, and that's all that's available. And I am gobsmacked that the government has got that so wrong.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Sounds like there's a bit of joined up thinking to be done around that. Fantastic. Chris, can we have some feedback from the online guys?
Sure, yeah. Oh, can I just quickly check how we're doing for time, Holly?
we've got a little bit of action. We thought we'd
Super, because we had lots of responses from online. Okay, so some nice ones here. But this is just so obvious, but just so true and important. Make it clear to the young person that you value their contribution. Well, it's simple, but it's true, because if they know that you value their contribution, then they're going to want to get involved. Before anything, they have to know about it, get the message out there, and that's a really key point. I think we need to get better sometimes at getting the message out there, getting the marketing right, getting it to the right people, to the right adults that are working with these young people, and directly to the young people themselves. Lots of gatekeepers sometimes. This one, okay. Don't do formal interviews. Find a less scary way of finding out if they're the right person for the job. That's great. I think that one, that's so right for young people. I think it's probably right for a lot of adults as well. So yeah, a nice selection of feedback there, Holly. That's
fantastic.
great.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much. And I would just like to say that the interview process is one of the key things that we learn about Three Strong Voices. So if you would like to know more about that, please do come and have a chat with me or get in touch, because I'd be really happy to feed back on our experience of that. So hopefully after that, you feel that you're ready to articulate the benefits to both your organisation and to the young people that you might be working with, so that they might be able to take advantage of these opportunities. And just to say that for the employers specifically, there is a sheet that kind of summarises what we've been talking about in the toolkit, which will be made available to you.
Okay, so hopefully at this point in the seminar, and after hearing and thinking about how and why we should want to create some opportunities, your attention is going to be drawn to how to get started. I'm just going to zip through the toolkit, because I think we're sort of running, we've got a little bit of extra time apparently, but we'll go through this. But not too much. Okay. Okay. Employing a young person doesn't need to be difficult, but of course there can be certain issues and challenges along the way that we've talked about. But to try and help them make the process as simple as possible, we've put this toolkit together, which has information, resources, and the different tools that will help you set up some opportunities. And for our online audience, there should just be a link on the resources section. I think it's on the right-hand side of your web page. It'll be there somewhere anyway. There's some printed copies of this for everyone here at the Sage. They're by the exit door. Becky's holding them there. Thank you. So make sure you pick one up on your way out.
It's not all been created by us, we'll be honest about that, and in no way does it attempt to cover all of the information that is available, but it does contain bits and pieces that we found helpful when setting up apprenticeships and other work-based learning opportunities.
So there's a step-by-step guide on how to set up an apprenticeship. There's resources with research links, information about different parts of the creative sector, guidance on the sort of skills required for them, and there's also a link to a really good toolkit on setting up apprenticeships for disabled young people. And there's a section on the money as well that's available, because there's 2 bits of funding that employers can access, or at least 2 bits, one provided by the National Apprenticeship Service, and the other one which is Arts Council funded through the Creative and Cultural Skills Council. They're both funds that can be applied for with certain criteria attached. So, we've now come to the end of the session. I hope it's been useful and interesting, and hopefully it's inspired you to have some more thought about offering opportunities for young people. Holly and I are available if you want to grab us at all during the rest of the day. Feel free to come and ask us any questions. And our emails are going to pop up here. We're happy to answer emails as well. And we've got business cards and stuff that we can hand out, I think. So thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed it. And I just need to quickly mention some housekeeping. So in a minute, hopefully we're going to hear what the debate questions. Have we got the debate questions? Excellent. The debate questions have been decided, so they're coming up on the screen. So you can have a think about those during the break. There's a short break of about 15 minutes, and that's over in the bar for Hall 2. So thank you very much.